Welcome to the Instant Trivia Podcast episode 1457, where we ask the best trivia on the internet. Let's get started. What does a nephologist study? Clouds. The Caribbean island of Aruba is part of what European kingdom? The Netherlands. What major musical of the 1960s was written by James Rado, Jerome Ragney, and Galt MacDermot? Hair. What nation is home to the Komodo dragon? Indonesia. Winston Churchill ordered the restocking of which animal at Gibraltar in 1942? Barbary apes. What French company is represented by a mascot named Bibendum? Michelin. What does an androphobic maiden fear? Men. What dog breed was the official 1972 Summer Olympics mascot? Dachshund. What U.S. state's National Guard still calls itself the Green Mountain Boys? Vermont. In which African country would you find the towns of Kumasi and Cape? Ghana. What Latin phrase actually comes from a poem attributed to Virgil about a salad recipe? E pluribus unum. Who directed the 1989 film The War of the Roses? Danny DeVito. Which country was known as Southwest Africa until 1990? Namibia. Mariner 4 sent the first pictures of which planet back to Earth? Mars. Robert Englund played the main villain in what series of horror films? A Nightmare on Elm Street. What building is considered the first skyscraper? The Home Insurance Building in Chicago. What two pieces are moved in chess's castling maneuver? The king and rook. In which classic children's book does the protagonist only eat cabbage? Answer: Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. What was the name of the Earth's first artificial satellite? Sputnik 1. In what decade does the movie Girl Interrupted take place? 1960s. Succulent is derived from the Latin word succus, meaning what? Sap. Which country does Egypt border to the south? Sudan. What folk hero is said to live in the Sherwood Forest? Robin Hood. What is dendrochronology? Tree ring dating. What 1986 Europe hit was Gob's Magic Act theme song on TV's Arrested Development? The Final Countdown. What is Dan short for in former U.S. Vice President Dan Quayle's name? Danforth. Although making its initial appearance in 1938, what year saw the start of mass production of Volkswagen's Beetle? 1945. Poet William Wordsworth wrote a guide to what area that is now a UK national park? Answer: Lake District. Before it was protected land, the poet wrote in poetic verse a guide through the district of the lakes. What is the name of the popular Christmas song that Will's dad composed in the 2002 film About a Boy? Santa's Super Sleigh. In which gymnastics discipline would a man do the scissors? Pommel horse. What is the only nation that borders both Kazakhstan and Iran? Turkmenistan. In 1964, who founded Blue Ribbon Sports, which later went on to become Nike? Phil Knight. Who released the 1970s album entitled Next? The sensational Alex Harvey Band. What was the first man-made object to leave the solar system? Voyager 1. What is the capital of the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico? San Juan. What actor-singer played the role of Right Arm in the 1997 movie The Fifth Element? Tricky. What year was U.S. President Ronald Reagan born? 1911. What is the International Space Station's average distance from Earth? 240 miles. Which state is located between Maine and Vermont? New Hampshire. What classic novel's subtitle is A Novel Without a Hero? Vanity Fair. Which of the following materials is used along with iron ore and limestone to produce iron in a modern blast furnace? Coal, bauxite, coke, or cementite? Coke, not the drink. Which gaming franchise celebrated its 20th anniversary on February 27th, 2016? Pokémon. What year was Charles Darwin's work on the origin of species published? 1859. Construction of the Colosseum finished under the ruling of which emperor? Titus. Which country's name once meant Land of the Rabbits? Spain. What is the name of the evolutionary biologist who wrote The God Delusion? Richard Dawkins. What new economic program did China's Mao Zedong announce in 1958? Answer: The Great Leap Forward. By which name is Paul Francis Gadd better known? Gary Glitter. What color diamond is produced if it contains traces of boron? Blue. Which MLB player led the American League in home runs in 2010 and 2011? Jose Bautista. That's That's the end of the show. Thanks for listening. Come back tomorrow for more exciting trivia.